Day 1, and your liver is already making a decision you won't feel for 3 weeks. Your blood triglycerides, the fats circulating through your arteries right now, have just spiked 20% above baseline after a single Big Mac meal. Your body doesn't know this is a social experiment. It treats it like a metabolic emergency. Here's what happens. Day by day, your liver expects balance. Under normal conditions, it processes incoming fats, packages them into lipoproteins, and ships them to tissues that need energy. Your pancreas releases insulin in precise measured pulses to match the glucose arriving from a varied diet. Your gut microbiome, the 38 trillion microorganisms lining your intestinal wall, calibrates your immune system, synthesizes vitamins B12 and K, and signals your brain when you're full. That system took years to build. That contract is now broken. The first thing you notice in those opening days is that you're never quite full. McDonald's meals are engineered around a concept food scientists call hyperpalatability, a precise ratio of fat, salt, sugar, and texture that activates your brain's dopamine reward pathways without triggering the satiety signals that whole foods produce. Your hypothalamus, the walnut-sized structure that regulates appetite, is supposed to receive leptin signals from your fat cells telling it you've consumed enough. But ultra-processed food disrupts leptin sensitivity at the receptor level. You eat 400 calories. You feel like you ate 800. You order again. By day 4, your gut is already changing. The microbiome requires dietary fiber to feed the bacterial strains that produce short-chain fatty acids, and it is now starved of its primary substrate. McDonald's menu items average less than 2 grams of fiber per meal. Your daily need is 25 to 38 grams. The bacteria that produce butyrate, a compound that feeds your colon cells and regulates inflammation, begin to die off within 72 hours of fiber withdrawal. Other strains, particularly firmicutes, associated with fat extraction from food, proliferate. Your gut is being rewired to extract more calories from the same food. The irony is total. At the end of the first week, your liver is working harder than you know. It receives a daily flood of saturated fat, primarily palmitic acid from the beef tallow and frying oil, and begins synthesizing very low-density lipoproteins at an accelerating rate. VLDL carries triglycerides through your bloodstream, and at sustained high levels, it deposits lipid droplets directly into the hepatocytes, your liver cells. This is the beginning of non-alcoholic fatty liver disease, and it can begin in under 2 weeks on a diet like this. A liver ultrasound performed now might already show increased echogenicity, the early shadow of fat accumulation in tissue that was clear 7 days ago. You feel none of this. You feel fine. That is the most dangerous part. Your insulin response is deteriorating in parallel. Your pancreas has been releasing insulin spikes after every high glycemic meal. The refined white flour buns, the sweetened sauces, the sodas. Chronic insulin elevation desensitizes your muscle and fat cells to the hormone signal, a condition called insulin resistance. Your pancreas responds by releasing even more insulin. This cycle is the on-ramp to type 2 diabetes, and it is already in motion before day 10. By the middle of the second week, you are chronically inflamed. The saturated fat diet has elevated circulating levels of interleukin-6 and tumor necrosis factor alpha, cytokines, the chemical messengers your immune system uses to coordinate inflammation. Normally, these signals mean infection or injury. Your body releases them now in response to the lipid composition of every meal. Your C-reactive protein, a standard inflammation blood marker, is measurably elevated. A physician would see it. You just feel slow, bloated, irritable in a way you can't name. Your mood is shifting, and the mechanism is precise. The gut-brain axis, the bidirectional neural highway running through the vagus nerve, is now transmitting different signals. The microbiome strains that synthesize precursors to serotonin have declined sharply. Your gut produces approximately 90% of the body's serotonin. You are not clinically depressed, but you are not right either. By day 22, your kidneys are processing a sodium load they were not designed to sustain at this frequency. McDonald's meals average 200 to 2 milligrams of sodium per serving. Triple that across a full day, and your kidneys, which regulate extracellular fluid volume and blood pressure, must continuously activate the renin-angiotensin-aldosterone system, a hormonal cascade that raises blood pressure to force fluid filtration. Your systolic pressure is climbing, not dramatically, but daily. Sustained hypertension at this level begins damaging the endothelium, the delicate single-cell lining of your arteries. through shear stress, small tears, platelet aggregation, the scaffolding of atherosclerosis being quietly erected. By day 28, the cascade has found its footing. If you walked into an emergency room right now, not in crisis, simply for a routine panel, a physician would find your HDL cholesterol depressed, your LDL elevated, your triglycerides above 200 milligrams per deciliter. Your liver enzymes ALT and AST are elevated, suggesting hepatocellular stress. Your fasting insulin is 3 to 4 times normal. Your blood pressure sits at pre-hypertensive levels. None of these findings alone constitute emergency. Together, they constitute metabolic syndrome, the convergence of 5 interconnected risk factors that multiply your probability of heart attack, stroke, and type 2 diabetes. No single organ has failed, but 5 systems are failing in concert, quietly, below the threshold of any symptom you'd recognize as serious. It held on longer than any system should have, but it was never designed for this volume, at this frequency, without interruption. Not everyone who does this collapses. Morgan Spurlock documented exactly this experiment in the 2004 film Super Size Me. 30 days, McDonald's only, 3 meals a day. His physician reported a 13-pound weight gain, liver toxicity described as resembling that of someone with alcohol dependence, mood instability, and sexual dysfunction. But Spurlock survived. He was relatively healthy at baseline, which matters enormously. Mitochondrial efficiency, genetic variants in lipid metabolism, pre-existing microbiome diversity. All of these modulate how fast the damage accumulates. What this experiment reveals is not that McDonald's will kill you in 30 days. What it reveals is that the body's tolerance for nutritional abuse is wide enough to be exploited, and that the damage accumulates below the level of conscious awareness, in systems too slow to send a clear alarm. If you stop on day 30 and return to a varied, fiber-rich diet, most of what happened is reversible. Your gut microbiome can largely restore itself within 2 to 4 weeks given the right substrates. Liver fat begins clearing within days of dietary change. The hepatocytes are remarkably plastic. Blood pressure normalizes. Inflammation markers drop. What doesn't fully reverse? The endothelial changes in your arterial walls. The microlesions that accumulated over weeks do not simply erase. If plaques have begun to form, they are permanent structures being managed, not eliminated. Insulin receptor sensitivity recovers slowly. Months, not weeks, even with perfect diet and exercise. The microbiome never returns to exactly what it was before. It rebuilds into something similar, not identical. 30 days of food is not a detour. It is construction. Your body will forgive almost anything. Almost.